Quick disclaimer, this is an AI voice, which is not going to be perfect. There is a transcript in the description as well as subtitles for you to read along with. There are many factors that affect voting behavior, including gender, age, class, and region. Voting behavior is also impacted by partisanship, which is the strong support for a particular political party or ideology. Voting behavior is also influenced by the party manifestos, which is a declaration of the principles, goals, and policies used in elections to outline the party's vision and commitments. In addition, voting behavior is also affected by salient issues, which are the most important topics or concerns in a particular context, often influencing public opinion and decision-making, such as in elections or political debates. The outcome of the 1983 general election have a distinct impact on the three main parties. The Conservative Party secured 42% of the votes, winning 397 seats out of the 650 seats available. The Labour Party received 28% of the votes, resulting in 209 seats. The Liberal Democrats received 26% of the votes, earning 23 seats. The outcome of the 1983 general election was influenced by gender, with 47% of men voting for the Conservative Party and 26% of men voting for the Labour Party. Similarly, 42% of women voted for the Conservative Party, while 30% of women voted for the Labour Party. The 1983 election outcome was impacted by gender, as both men and women showed stronger support for the Conservatives, reflecting a broad support for their economic policies and a strong opposition to Labour's proposals. Age also played a role in the 1983 general election results, with 36% of voters in the 18-24 age group supporting Labour and 41% supporting the Conservatives. Among those aged 25-44, 27% supported Labour and 47% supported the Conservatives. Voters aged 45 and above were even more likely to back the Conservatives, with 22% supporting Labour and 50% supporting the Conservatives. Age influenced the 1983 general election outcome, with younger voters more inclined towards Labour's progressive policies, while older voters showed a preference for the Conservative Party's economic approach. Ethnicity had an impact on the 1983 election, as 30% of white voters supported Labour, while 47% supported the Conservative Party. In contrast, 15% of black and minority ethnic voters supported Labour compared to 32% supporting the Conservatives. The 1983 election outcome was influenced by ethnicity, with Labour attracting more support from minority ethnic groups due to their commitment to social equality, while the Conservatives received greater support from white voters due to their focus on economic stability. Region had an impact in the 1983 general election, as 27% of voters in Scotland supported Labour, while 55% supported the Conservatives. In Northern England, 22% voted for Labour and 56% for the Conservatives. In Greater London, 35% of voters supported Labour and 40% supported the Conservatives. The 1983 election outcome was regionally influenced, with Labour performing better in Scotland and Greater London due to their focus on social issues, while the Conservatives maintained stronger support in Northern England due to their emphasis on economic policies and traditional values. Class had a significant impact on the 1983 general election, with 62% of the working class voting for Labour and 28% voting for the Conservatives. Among the middle class, 30% supported Labour and 45% supported the Conservatives. The upper class showed the strongest preference for the Conservatives, with 20% voting for Labour and 55% voting for the Conservatives. Class influenced the 1983 election outcome, with the working class favouring Labour's promises of social reform, while the middle and upper classes leaned towards the Conservative Party's emphasis on economic stability and traditional policies. The 1983 general election was also affected by partisanship, with a strong alignment of voters to their respective parties. Many voters continued their traditional support for either Labour or Conservative parties, reflecting a period of stable partisan loyalty. The support for the Conservative Party among many voters played a significant role in their substantial electoral victory, showing the impact of entrenched partisan affiliations during this period. The Conservative Party's manifesto in the 1983 general election concentrated on reinforcing economic policies, promising tax cuts, and a strong commitment to reducing inflation through strict fiscal measures. It also emphasized law and order, a tough stance on trade unions, and a continued focus on privatizing state-owned industries. Despite their assertive policies and promises of economic recovery, the Conservative Party's approach in 1983 failed to address growing public concerns over unemployment and social inequality, contributing to their significant electoral advantage but highlighting a growing discontent among voters seeking broader social reforms. The Labour Party's manifesto in the 1983 general election, led by Michael Foot, was characterised by its radical proposals, including increased public spending, nationalisation of key industries, and significant investment in social services. It also advocated for unilateral nuclear disarmament and extensive reforms aimed at reducing inequality. Labour's manifesto, with its comprehensive programme for social change and economic intervention, resonated with voters concerned about economic imbalance and public services, although it struggled to gain widespread support due to concerns over its more extreme policies and perceived impracticality. The Liberal Democrats' manifesto in the 1983 general election focused on electoral reform, specifically advocating for proportional representation, as well as increased funding for education and health services. They also advocated civil liberties and environmental issues, presenting themselves as a moderate alternative to the dominant Labour and Conservative parties. The Liberal Democrats' emphasis on reform and social progress distinguished them from the larger parties, but their impact in the 1983 election was limited, reflecting the electorate's greater support for Labour and the Conservatives. The Conservative Party's campaign during the 1983 general election primarily focused on economic recovery, emphasizing their achievements in reducing inflation and controlling public spending. They also highlighted their stance on law and order, portraying themselves as the party committed to curbing the influence of trade unions and restoring discipline. The Conservative Party's emphasis on economic recovery and strong law enforcement during the 1983 general election did not fully address growing concerns over unemployment and social inequality, leading to a mixed reception among voters and a dominant electoral performance despite underlying discontent. The Labour Party's campaign in the 1983 general election centred on a radical programme for economic and social reform, advocating for substantial increases in public spending, nationalisation of key industries, and measures to reduce income inequality. They also promoted a platform of nuclear disarmament and extensive social programmes aimed at addressing widespread economic and social issues. Labour's campaign, with its focus on bold reform and social justice, attracted significant support from those disappointed with the economic status quo, although their more radical proposals faced scepticism and limited their overall electoral success. The Liberal Democrats' campaign during the 1983 general election focused on advocating for proportional representation and increased investment in education and social services. They also highlighted their commitment to environmental protection and civil liberties, positioning themselves as a moderate and progressive alternative to the larger parties. Despite their clear stance on electoral reform and social issues, the Liberal Democrats' campaign did not receive enough voter support in the 1983 general election, as their appeal was overshadowed by the more focused contest between Labour and the Conservatives. In the 1983 general election, key issues included the state of the economy, particularly high unemployment and inflation, as well as the role and power of trade unions. There was also significant focus on the Labour Party's radical policies and the potential impacts of nationalisation on the economy. The salient issues of economic management, trade union power, and Labour's proposed reforms played a crucial role in shaping voter preferences in the 1983 general election. These concerns contributed to the Conservative Party's substantial electoral success, as they presented themselves as the party capable of stabilising the economy and reducing union influence. The outcome of the 1997 general election had a varied impact on the three main parties. The Conservative Party received 30% of the votes, winning 165 seats of the 650 seats available. The Labour Party received 43% of the votes, winning 418 seats. The Liberal Democrats received 16% of the votes, winning 46 seats. The outcome of the 1997 general election was impacted by gender, with 45% of men voted for the Labour Party and 31% of men voting for the Conservative Party. Similarly, 44% of women voted for the Labour Party, with 32% of women voting for the Conservative Party. The 1997 election outcome was influenced by gender, as both men and women favoured Labour over the Conservatives, reflecting widespread dissatisfaction with the Conservative government's handling of public services and a strong appeal of Labour's promises for reform and investment in healthcare and education. The outcome of the 1997 general election was not impacted by age, as roughly 30% of each age range voting for the Labour Party and roughly 40% of each age range voting for the Conservative Party. The 1997 general election results were not significantly influenced by age because voter preferences were consistently divided, with both younger and older voters showing similar support for the Conservative Party's stability and the Labour Party's reformist promises, reflecting the broad appeal of both parties' platforms across age groups. The outcome of the 1997 general election was impacted by ethnicity, as 32% of white individuals voted for the Labour Party and 43% of white individuals voted for the Conservative Party. However, 18% of black and minority ethnic individuals voted for the Labour Party, with 32% of black and minority ethnic individuals voting for the Conservative Party. The 1997 general election outcome was influenced by ethnicity, with Labour attracting less support from white voters due to their focus on social reform, while the Conservative Party received more support from white voters through their emphasis on economic stability, whereas Labour's policies were more appealing to black and minority ethnic voters who were seeking greater social equality and investment. Region had an impact on the outcome of the 1997 general election, as 18% of the voters in Scotland voted for the Labour Party, with 45% of these voters voting for the Conservative Party. 22% of voters in Northern England voted for the Labour Party, while 61% of these voters voted for the Conservative Party. 31% of voters in Greater London voted for the Labour Party, while 49% of these voters voted for the Conservative Party. The 1997 general election outcome was regionally influenced, with Labour performing better in Scotland and Greater London due to their focus on social reform and public investment, while the Conservatives retained stronger support in Northern England due to their emphasis on economic stability and traditional values. Class had an impact on the outcome of the 1997 general election, as 56% of the working class voted for the Labour Party, while 30% voted for the Conservative Party. 30% of the middle class voted for the Labour Party, while 40% voted for the Conservative Party. 36% of the upper class voted for the Labour Party, while 54% voted for the Conservative Party. Class influenced the 1997 general election outcome, with the working class favouring Labour's promises of public investment and reform, while the middle and upper classes leaned towards the Conservatives' emphasis on economic stability and traditional policies. The 1997 general election was impacted by partisanship, as there was a case of partisan de-alignment where individuals no longer assign themselves with a certain political party. The 1997 general election saw many individuals leaving the Conservatives and giving Labour a big win under Tony Blair. Partisan de-alignment in the 1997 general election led many voters to abandon the Conservatives in favour of Labour, driven by widespread dissatisfaction with the Conservatives' long tenure and a strong appeal of Labour's promises for change under Tony Blair. The Conservative Party's manifesto in the 1997 general election focused on maintaining economic stability, promising to keep taxes low and further reduce public spending. It also emphasized traditional values, law and order, and a continued commitment to privatization, but struggled to resonate with an electorate seeking change after 18 years of Conservative government. The Conservative Party's focus on economic stability and traditional values in the 1997 general election failed to resonate with an electorate eager for change and reform after 18 years in power, contributing to their significant defeat and Labour's decisive victory. The Labour Party's manifesto in the 1997 general election, branded as a new Labour, focused on modernising Britain by promising investment in public services like health and education, while maintaining fiscal responsibility by not raising income tax rates. It also pledged to tackle unemployment, reform welfare, and create a minimum wage, appealing to a broad range of voters with a centrist platform. Labour's New Labour manifesto, with its promises of public service investment, fiscal responsibility, and social reforms, appealed widely to voters seeking a fresh approach and effective change, leading to their victory in the 1997 general election. The Liberal Democrats' manifesto in the 1997 general election focused on increasing investment in education, funded by a proposed 1% increase in income tax, and advocating for constitutional reforms including proportional representation and devolution. They also emphasized environmental protection and civil liberties, positioning themselves as a progressive alternative to both Labour and the Conservatives. The Liberal Democrats' focus on education funding, constitutional reform, and progressive values positioned them as a distinct alternative, but their limited impact in the 1997 election reflected the electorate's stronger preference for Labour's broader appeal for change and reform. The Conservative Party's campaign during the 1997 general election primarily focused on economic stability, emphasizing their record on low inflation, interest rates, and unemployment. They also concentrated on issues of law and order, portraying themselves as the party of traditional values and national security while warning against the risks of Labour's proposed changes. The Conservative Party's emphasis on economic stability and traditional values during the 1997 general election failed to address widespread voter dissatisfaction with their long tenure, leading many to embrace Labour's vision for reform and change. The Labour Party's campaign in the 1997 general election focused on presenting themselves as New Labour, committed to modernising the country with promises to improve public services like healthcare and education while maintaining the economy. They also emphasized policies such as introducing a minimum wage and tackling unemployment, appealing to a broad spectrum of voters seeking change after years of Conservative rule. Labour's New Labour campaign, with its focus on modernising public services, introducing a minimum wage, and addressing unemployment while maintaining fiscal responsibility, resonated with voters eager for change after the lengthy Conservative rule, contributing to their overwhelming victory. The Liberal Democrats' campaign during the 1997 general election centered on a strong commitment to improving education through increased funding, supported by a proposed tax rise. They also emphasized the need for constitutional reforms, such as proportional representation and devolution, alongside a focus on environmental issues and civil liberties. Despite their strong focus on education reform, constitutional changes, and environmental issues, the Liberal Democrats' campaign did not capture as much voter support in the 1997 general election, overshadowed by Labour's broader appeal for comprehensive change and reform. The salient issues during the 1997 general election included the state of public services, particularly healthcare and education, with concern over their decline under the Conservative Party, economic management, unemployment, and the desire for political change after 18 years of Conservative governance also played a crucial role in shaping voter preferences. The salient issues of public service decline, economic management, and the desire for change after 18 years of Conservative rule drove voter preferences in the 1997 general election, leading to a decisive victory for Labour as they addressed these concerns with promises of reform and improvement. The outcome of the 2019 general election had a varied impact on the three main parties. The Conservative Party received 44% of the votes, winning 365 seats of the 650 seats available. The Labour Party received 32% of the votes, winning 202 seats. The Liberal Democrats received 12% of the votes, winning 11 seats. The outcome of the 2019 general election was impacted by gender, with 31% of men voting for the Labour Party and 46% of men voting for the Conservative Party. Similarly, 35% of women voted for the Labour Party, with 44% of women voting for the Conservative Party. The 2019 election outcome was influenced by gender, as both men and women tended to favour the Conservatives over Labour, reflecting strong support for the Conservative Party's Brexit stance and economic policies. The outcome of the 2019 general election was also impacted by age, with younger voters between the ages of 18 and 24 largely supporting Labour, while older voters over the age of 65 mostly supported the Conservative Party. The 2019 general election results were significantly influenced by age, as younger voters leaned towards Labour's progressive policies, while older voters favoured the Conservatives' commitment to delivering Brexit and maintaining traditional values. The outcome of the 2019 general election was impacted by ethnicity, with 64% of black and minority ethnic voters supporting Labour, while 20% supported the Conservatives. Among white voters, 48% backed the Conservative Party and 29% voted for Labour. Ethnicity played a significant role in shaping the election outcome, with Labour attracting strong support from black and minority ethnic communities, who resonated with their focus on social justice, while the Conservatives drew more support from white voters who were aligned with their Brexit agenda and economic policies. Region had an impact on the outcome of the 2019 general election, as Labour performed well in Greater London and other urban areas, while the Conservatives found stronger support in rural and northern regions, particularly in constituencies that had historically been Labour-safe seats but shifted due to Brexit. The 2019 general election outcome was regionally influenced, with Labour performing better in metropolitan areas due to their emphasis on social issues and the Conservatives gaining ground in traditionally Labour voting regions by focusing on Brexit and economic stability. Class also influenced the outcome of the 2019 general election, with the working class showing significant support for the Conservative Party, a shift from previous elections largely driven by the party's commitment to Brexit. The middle and upper classes were divided, with many still supporting the Conservatives' economic policies, while Labour struggled to maintain its traditional base among working-class voters. Class played a significant role in the 2019 election, with the Conservatives gaining support from Labour's traditional working-class base, reflecting the changing political landscape. The 2019 general election was impacted by partisanship, particularly with Brexit driving a realignment of traditional party loyalties. Many voters who had previously supported Labour switched to the Conservative Party due to their clear stance on Brexit. Partisan realignment in the 2019 general election saw many voters abandon long-held loyalties, contributing to the Conservative Party's decisive victory under Boris Johnson, who promised to get Brexit done. The Conservative Party's manifesto in the 2019 general election focused on delivering Brexit, promising to get Brexit done by securing a deal and leaving the European Union by the January 2020 deadline. It also emphasised maintaining economic stability, investing in public services like the NHS, and increasing police numbers to address concerns about crime. However, after nearly a decade in power, the Conservative Party's primary focus on Brexit resonated strongly with an electorate tired of delays, which helped them secure significant voter support, particularly in areas that had supported leaving the EU. The Labour Party's manifesto in the 2019 general election centred on a radical agenda to transform the UK, pledging to nationalise key industries, introduce a Green New Deal to combat climate change, and significantly increase public spending on health, education, and social care. It also promised to renegotiate a Brexit deal and put it to a public vote, appealing to voters with a platform focused on social justice, economic reform, and giving the public the final say on Brexit. Labour's manifesto, with its ambitious social and economic reforms, aimed to attract voters seeking substantial change, but it struggled to compete with the clear Brexit stance offered by the Conservatives, leading to a challenging electoral outcome. The Liberal Democrats' manifesto in the 2019 general election focused on stopping Brexit altogether, pledging to revoke Article 50 if they won a majority, and positioning themselves as the party of Remain. They also advocated for increased investment in mental health services, education, and addressing climate change through green policies. The Liberal Democrats' clear anti-Brexit stance and focus on progressive social policies offered a distinct alternative to the major parties. However, their impact in the 2019 election was limited, reflecting the electorate's sharper focus on Brexit and the binary choice between Labour and the Conservatives. The Conservative Party's campaign during the 2019 general election primarily focused on delivering Brexit, emphasising their commitment to get Brexit done and resolve the ongoing political uncertainty. They also concentrated on maintaining economic stability, investing in the NHS, and increasing police numbers to enhance law and order, while portraying themselves as the party of traditional values and strong leadership. The Conservative Party's emphasis on Brexit and economic stability during the 2019 general election resonated strongly with an electorate frustrated by the delays and divisions over Brexit, leading many voters to support their clear and decisive stance. The Labour Party's campaign in the 2019 general election focused on presenting a vision of transformative change with commitments to nationalise key industries, invest heavily in public services, and implement a Green New Deal to combat climate change. They also emphasised policies like expanding workers' rights, introducing free broadband, and renegotiating a Brexit deal to put it to a public vote. Labour's campaign, with its ambitious social and economic reforms, aimed to appeal to voters seeking significant change. However, it struggled to gain broad traction, as many voters were more focused on the Brexit issue, which the Conservatives had clearly addressed. The Liberal Democrats' campaign during the 2019 general election centred on their strong opposition to Brexit, advocating for Article 50 to be revoked to cancel Brexit altogether. They also emphasised increased investment in education and mental health services, funded by targeted tax increases, and highlighted their commitment to environmental sustainability and civil liberties. Despite their clear anti-Brexit stance and focus on progressive social policies, the Liberal Democrats' campaign struggled to gain significant traction in the 2019 general election, as the electorate was largely focused on the Conservative and Labour positions on Brexit and broader issues. In the 2019 general election, the salient issues included Brexit, the National Health Service, and economic inequality. Brexit was the central concern, with voters focused on the delivery of the UK's departure from the European Union. The NHS also played a significant role, with widespread discussions about funding and service quality. Additionally, economic inequality and concerns about living standards influenced voter preferences. The prominence of these issues shaped voter decisions, contributing to a decisive victory for the Conservative Party as they presented a clear plan to resolve Brexit and emphasised their commitment to increasing NHS funding, while Labour's broader promises for systemic change faced challenges during the focus on Brexit. The outcome of the 1997 general election had a varied impact on the three main parties. The Conservative Party received 30% of the votes, winning 165 seats of the 650 seats available. The Labour Party received 43% of the votes, winning 418 seats. The Liberal Democrats received 16% of the votes, winning 46 seats. The outcome of the 2024 general election was impacted by gender, with 42% of men voting for the Labour Party and 36% of men voting for the Conservative Party. Similarly, 44% of women voted for the Labour Party, with 34% of women voting for the Conservative Party. The 2024 election outcome was influenced by gender, as both men and women leaned towards Labour over the Conservatives, reflecting dissatisfaction with the Conservative government's handling of economic issues and a strong appeal of Labour's promises for reform and investment in public services. The outcome of the 2024 general election was also impacted by age, with 35% of younger voters between the ages of 18 and 34 voting for the Labour Party and 25% of them voting for the Conservative Party. Among older voters above the age of 55, 40% supported the Conservative Party, while 30% supported Labour. The 2024 general election results were significantly influenced by age, with younger voters favouring Labour's progressive policies and calls for social change, whereas older voters tended to prefer the Conservative Party's emphasis on stability and traditional values. Ethnicity played a role in the outcome of the 2024 general election, with 40% of white voters supporting the Conservative Party and 37% supporting Labour. In contrast, 50% of black and minority ethnic voters supported Labour, while only 20% supported the Conservatives. The election outcome was influenced by ethnicity, with Labour gaining stronger support from black and minority ethnic voters who resonated with their focus on social justice and equality, while the Conservatives retained more support among white voters through their focus on economic stability and law and order. Region had an impact on the outcome of the 2024 general election, as 45% of voters in Scotland voted for the Labour Party, with 25% voting for the Conservative Party. In Northern England, 40% of voters supported Labour, while 35% voted for the Conservatives. In Greater London, 50% of voters backed Labour compared to 30% who supported the Conservatives. The 2024 general election outcome was regionally influenced, with Labour performing better in Scotland, Northern England and Greater London due to their promises of regional investment and devolution, while the Conservatives struggled to maintain support in these areas. Class influenced the outcome of the 2024 general election, with 48% of the working class voting for the Labour Party, while 32% voted for the Conservative Party. Among the middle class, 35% voted for Labour and 40% for the Conservatives. The upper class showed 38% support for Labour and 45% for the Conservatives. Class played a significant role in the election, with the working class favouring Labour's commitment to addressing cost of living issues and public service investment, while the middle and upper classes were more divided, with many still supporting the Conservatives' economic policies. The 2024 general election was impacted by partisanship, with signs of partisan de-alignment continuing to be evident. Many traditional Conservative voters, disappointed by recent economic challenges and scandals, shifted their support to Labour or smaller parties, leading to Labour's strong performance under Keir Starmer. Partisan de-alignment in the 2024 general election saw many voters abandoning long-held loyalties, driven by a desire for change and renewed trust in Labour's leadership. The Conservative Party's manifesto in the 2024 general election focused on maintaining economic stability, promising to manage inflation and continue with tax cuts aimed at boosting business and personal incomes. It also emphasized improving national security, promoting traditional values, and furthering deregulation efforts to stimulate growth. However, after 14 years in power, the Conservative Party struggled to resonate with an electorate increasingly concerned about rising costs and public service challenges, contributing to the decline in voter support. The Labour Party's manifesto in the 2024 general election centred on tackling the cost of living crisis, pledging to increase public spending on health, education, and social care while promising to introduce windfall taxes on energy companies to fund these initiatives. It also emphasized green energy investment, affordable housing, and workers' rights, appealing to a wide spectrum of voters with a platform focused on economic justice and public welfare. Labour's manifesto, with its promises of addressing immediate economic concerns and long-term social reforms, resonated strongly with voters seeking change, leading to their competitive performance in the election. The Liberal Democrats' manifesto in the 2024 general election focused on changing the electoral system, advocating for proportional representation, and pushing for increased funding for mental health services. They also emphasized environmental sustainability, civil liberties, and local government empowerment, positioning themselves as a progressive voice distinct from both Labour and the Conservatives. The Liberal Democrats' focus on democratic reform, mental health, and environmental issues offered a clear alternative, but their impact in the 2024 election was limited, reflecting the electorate's stronger support for the major parties' broader visions for change. The Conservative Party's campaign during the 2024 general election primarily focused on economic management, emphasizing their track record of navigating the country through economic uncertainty, including low unemployment and steady growth. They also concentrated on national security, portraying themselves as the party of traditional values and strong leadership while warning against the perceived risks of Labour's more progressive agenda. However, the Conservative Party's emphasis on economic management and traditional values during the 2024 general election struggled to connect with an electorate weary of their long tenure, leading many voters to seek an alternative in Labour's promises for renewal and change. The Labour Party's campaign in the 2024 general election focused on presenting a vision of a fairer, greener future with commitments to tackle the cost of living crisis, invest in public services, and address climate change. They also emphasized policies like raising the minimum wage, expanding workers' rights, and ensuring affordable housing, appealing to voters looking for tangible improvements in their daily lives. Labour's campaign, with its focus on social justice, environmental responsibility, and economic reform, resonated with voters eager for change after more than a decade of Conservative rule, contributing to their strong performance in the election. The Liberal Democrats' campaign during the 2024 general election centered on advocating for electoral reform, including the introduction of proportional representation, as well as increased investment in education and mental health services, funded by targeted tax increases. They also highlighted environmental issues and civil liberties, positioning themselves as a progressive alternative to the major parties. Despite their focus on electoral and educational reforms, as well as their strong stance on environmental protection, the Liberal Democrats' campaign struggled to gain significant traction in the 2024 general election, overshadowed by the competition between Labour and the Conservatives. The salient issues during the 2024 general election included the cost of living crisis, with widespread concern over rising inflation, energy prices, and the affordability of housing under the Conservative government. Other critical issues were the state of the NHS and public services, climate change, and the growing demand for political renewal after more than a decade of Conservative governance. The salient issues of economic challenges, public service strain, and the desire for change after years of Conservative rule shaped voter preferences in the 2024 general election, driving support for Labour as they pledged to address these pressing concerns with bold reforms and investment. The media has a major influence on the turnout of elections. As well as this, the outcome was affected by opinion polls, which are surveys conducted to gather people's views or preferences on political candidates and social issues. As well as this, the outcome was influenced by media bias, which is the skewed presentation of news and information by media outlets, often reflecting particular political, economic, or ideological perspectives. The media plays a vital role in general elections by shaping public perception and influencing voter behavior through the spreading of information, analysis, and commentary. It provides a platform for political parties and candidates to communicate their policies and agendas, frames electoral debates, and highlights key issues and controversies. Media coverage can amplify or diminish the impact of campaign messages, affect public opinion by focusing on particular aspects of the candidates' platforms, and hold politicians accountable through investigative journalism. Additionally, the media's portrayal of candidates and their platforms can significantly sway undecided voters and impact election outcomes, making it crucial in the democratic process. The media has a major impact on general elections by influencing how voters perceive candidates, parties, and key issues through news coverage, opinion pieces, and debates. The media shapes the public's understanding of the election and highlights particular aspects of campaigns. It can amplify certain messages while downplaying others, thus affecting voter priorities and decisions. The media also plays a crucial role in framing the electoral agenda, setting the tone for discussions and providing a platform for public debate. Additionally, the media's portrayal of candidates can sway public opinion, either enhancing or undermining their appeal, ultimately impacting election results by directing the focus of voter attention and shaping the overall narrative of the campaign. During the 1983 general election, the media played a vital role by focusing on the Falklands War and economic issues, which were central to the campaign narratives. This extensive coverage strengthened Margaret Thatcher's image as a strong leader and decisive figure, contributing to the Conservative Party's substantial electoral victory. During the 1983 general election, opinion polls were crucial as they provided insight into the shifting public sentiment regarding the Falklands War and economic policies, helping to shape campaign strategies and voter expectations. Media bias during the 1983 general election was important as it reinforced the Conservative Party's narrative of strong leadership and economic competence, while often underplaying Labour's challenges, which significantly influenced public perception and voting behaviour. Persuasion during the 1983 general election was crucial as it helped the Conservative Party frame their policies on the Falklands War and economic management in a favourable light, effectively swaying undecided voters and solidifying their electoral success. Between the 1983 and 1997 general elections, the media played a significant role in shaping public perception of both major parties by focusing on issues such as economic performance, government scandals, and policy changes. The impact of this media coverage was profound, contributing to a decline in the Conservative Party's popularity and credibility, and leading to Labour's rise under Tony Blair by highlighting their promises for reform and modernisation. Between the 1983 and 1997 general elections, opinion polls were vital as they tracked shifts in public sentiment, revealed growing dissatisfaction with Conservative policies, and provided insights that helped Labour refine their strategies and message to secure a decisive victory. Between the 1983 and 1997 general elections, media bias was crucial in shaping public perception by favouring Labour's reformist agenda and scrutinising the failures of the Conservative government, influencing voter attitudes and contributing to Labour's significant electoral success. Between the 1983 and 1997 general elections, persuasion was important as it enabled Labour to effectively communicate their new, modernising vision and critique the Conservative government's record, successfully shifting voter sentiment and contributing to their landslide victory. During the 1997 general election, the media played a crucial role in amplifying the narrative of New Labour's modernisation and reform agenda while covering the Conservative government scandals and failures. This coverage significantly influenced public opinion, contributing to Labour's overwhelming victory by highlighting their promises of change and capitalising on widespread dissatisfaction with the Conservatives. During the 1997 general election, opinion polls were important as they consistently showed Labour's growing lead over the Conservatives, reinforcing the perception of an inevitable Labour victory and shaping campaign strategies for both parties. During the 1997 general election, media bias was significant as it frequently highlighted the Conservative government's failures and Labour's reformist appeal, which helped sway public opinion in favour of Labour and contributed to their decisive win. During the 1997 general election, persuasion was crucial as Labour effectively showed a vision of modernisation and reform, appealing to voters disappointed with the Conservative government and helping to secure a landslide victory. Between the 1997 and 2019 general elections, the media played a key role in shaping political narratives, from scrutinizing government scandals and policy failures to amplifying emerging issues like Brexit and party leadership controversies. This evolving media landscape significantly impacted public opinion and electoral outcomes, influencing voter perceptions and contributing to shifts in party dominance and political strategy. Between the 1997 and 2019 general elections, opinion polls were crucial for tracking shifts in public sentiment, such as the growing support for Brexit reflected in polls leading up to the 2016 referendum and the subsequent impact on the 2017 and 2019 general elections, informing campaign strategies and forecasting electoral outcomes, which influenced party strategies and voter expectations. Between the 1997 and 2019 general elections, media bias was important as it shaped public perception by favoring certain parties and viewpoints, such as the 2008 financial crisis and its aftermath influenced perceptions of government competence, while during the 2016 Brexit referendum, media bias played a crucial role in framing the debate and shaping the electorate's views, which significantly impacted subsequent elections. Between the 1997 and 2019 general elections, media bias was crucial as it influenced public opinion on key issues, such as the portrayal of the 2008 financial crisis and the framing of Brexit debates, which shaped voter perceptions and significantly impacted electoral outcomes and party strategies. Between the 1997 and 2019 general elections, persuasion was crucial as political campaigns adapted their messaging to address evolving issues like Brexit and economic uncertainty, with Labour's attempts to appeal to voters with promises of social reform and the Conservatives' focus on delivering Brexit and national security, which significantly influenced electoral outcomes. During the 2019 general election, the media played a vital role by amplifying key issues such as Brexit and the controversies surrounding the Conservative government's handling of the NHS and social care. The coverage of these topics, as well as critical reporting on Jeremy Corbyn's leadership and Labour's manifesto, significantly influenced public opinion and contributed to the Conservative Party's decisive victory. During the 2019 general election, opinion polls were important for gauging shifting voter support on critical issues like Brexit and the leadership of Boris Johnson versus Jeremy Corbyn, providing insights that influenced campaign strategies and contributed to the Conservatives' successful focus on delivering Brexit. During the 2019 general election, media bias was significant as it shaped public perception by emphasizing controversies like the Partygate scandal and Brexit, with some media outlets favoring the Conservative government's promise to resolve Brexit and others critiquing the handling of the NHS and social issues, which impacted voter opinions and the overall election result. During the 2019 general election, persuasion was critical as the Conservative Party effectively marketed their strong stance on delivering Brexit and national security in response to voter fatigue and dissatisfaction with ongoing uncertainty, while Labour's struggle to convince voters of its leadership and economic plans played a significant role in the election outcome. Between the 2019 and 2024 general elections, the media played a significant role in shaping public discourse through extensive coverage of issues such as the ongoing effects of Brexit, the cost of living crisis, and controversies surrounding government handling of public services. This coverage influenced voter perceptions and priorities, contributing to shifts in party support and impacting the strategic approaches of both major and minor parties during the electoral campaigns. Between the 2019 and 2024 general elections, opinion polls were crucial in capturing shifts in public sentiment during crises like the COVID-19 pandemic and the cost of living crisis, guiding party strategies and shaping voter expectations by reflecting growing discontent with the Conservative government and rising support for opposition parties. Between the 2019 and 2024 general elections, media bias played a significant role in shaping public perception and political narratives, particularly as coverage influenced voter opinions on key issues like the government's pandemic response, economic challenges, and the handling of Brexit, thereby impacting the overall electoral landscape. Between the 2019 and 2024 general elections, persuasion was crucial as parties sought to sway undecided voters through targeted messaging on critical issues such as the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, economic recovery, and Brexit, with the changing political climate making effective communication strategies more impactful in influencing voter decisions. During the 2024 general election, the media played a pivotal role in shaping public discourse by extensively covering issues such as economic challenges, the climate crisis, and the aftermath of Brexit. Social media platforms amplified these narratives, influencing voter sentiment and engagement, while traditional media outlets were scrutinized for perceived biases, further separating public opinion in a highly charged political environment. During the 2024 general election, opinion polls were crucial in gauging public reaction to key issues like inflation, energy prices, and climate policy, shaping campaign strategies and influencing media narratives in a highly polarized political landscape. During the 2024 general election, media bias played a significant role in shaping public perception as media outlets with distinct political leanings amplified narratives around the economic challenges and climate policies, often influencing voter opinion in a broken political environment. During the 2024 general election, persuasion was crucial as parties leveraged social media and targeted campaigns to sway undecided voters with widespread concerns over the cost of living crisis and climate action, reflecting the separated and urgent nature of the political environment. Thank you for watching this video on voting behavior and the media. I'll see you in the next lesson.